Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and welcome to another episode of People's Questions, where I answer all the questions that you guys have sent me over the past week. We got a pretty solid episode of questions this time around, and I don't really see any newbies, so basically this is an all-comers episode. So to get into them, the first question comes from Andrew Rogers, and he wants to know, which Ace Combat game did I play? Just a quick question. The only Ace Combat game that I've played is Ace Combat Assault Horizon. Really cool game, very basic premise. I think my favorite addition that they added, I'm not sure if it had been in other Ace Combat games, I'm not sure because I hadn't played any others before this one, but there was this function where you would lock onto your opponent and then you would kind of go into like a dogfight mode where you were just like on his tail the whole time. You were just trying to shoot him down with your gun. It was really cool because it would go through so many different areas. Like if you were like fighting near a city, you would actually be like dog fighting around the city. I thought that was a really cool function. So yeah, I really like this game. Next question comes from Matt Cruz, and you want to know, what is my least favorite video game franchise? Least favorite? It's kind of hard because, like, least favorite, I'm not sure if I could say any franchise is least favorite, because that would incite that I like it, which I don't. I mean, I'm not really sure I can answer that question. Even with a week, I can't really think of any franchises I would consider that I like the least, because there's so many franchises I like. I mean, who knows what I can't really think of what it could be. Next question comes from Shane Mega Gengar. You want to know, will I be uploading more often top 10 videos? Oh, sure. Throw me a few top 10 ideas, and when I have time, I'll be sure to upload them. This period of time is really good because I have a lot more time to work on videos now that video game season really isn't going to start kicking in until, I think, like, the next game I'm probably going to buy was maybe going to be in August, maybe? So that gives me like a good 2 months to just work on video content and try to get them up. So that's what I'm really doing over these next 2 months. I just want to try to get as much time to work on versus videos and top 10 list videos and ranking videos. So if you guys have any ideas for top 10 list videos, now would be the good time to send them in. Next question comes from Sansko Scarpino. You want to know, which of the Max Payne games have I played and what do I think of them? I have played all 3 of the Max Payne games and I like them a lot. I think it's a great trilogy of games. If I had to pick my favorite, I think gameplay-wise, I would definitely pick Max Payne 3. If I could pick story-wise, I think I would pick the second one, because it's kind of like a tragic love story. And surprisingly, it was actually because of the second Max Payne that I discovered one of my current favorite music bands of all time. So yeah, I really enjoyed this series. A terrible movie, but yeah, I think it's a great trilogy of games. Next question comes from JBat. You want to know, am I going to watch Resident Evil Vendetta? Believe it or not, I've actually seen Vendetta, and I actually had recorded my review yesterday. The problem is that my rant on the video kind of went on for so long that my battery died, and so I was kind of upset. So right now, I'm on the fence of whether or not I want to just try to upload what I did record or just start all over and make a much shorter, more focused video. I'm not exactly sure what to do at that point, but you'll definitely be seeing a review for that up probably in the next 48 hours after this video is uploaded. Next question comes from Abil, and you want to know, what was my college degree in? My college degree was in computer design. Back in 2008, I went to college to pretty much know how to make video games. And then when the process was done, I decided I didn't want to make video games because I realized that if I was making video games, I really wouldn't even have time to be a gamer. Because if you actually, I mean, that's one thing that a lot of gamers take for granted, is like how much time actually goes into these video games in the process, and it can be stressful because most developers don't really realize what type of game they're making because they spend so much time on it. So a game that we may seem as amazing might be completely stressful for them because of the amount of time that and just work that they put into it. Which made me have even more respect for people that develop games, because they probably could never enjoy it as much as we do. But then after that, I want to get into journalism, and I'm right now trying to get back in school and go for a degree in that. So yeah, that's what I majored in. Next question comes from Matthew Keller. You want to know, do I believe that Stalin was a master rewriter of past events, or do you believe he was terrible as a leader? Stalin. Well, you know, history is written by the victors. Do I think he was a brutal dictator? Absolutely. Do I think he was on the same level as someone like an Adolf Hitler? Yes. But in a positive sense, it's better to have a mass genocidal maniac fighting for you than against you. So, in a sense, as evil as he was, you have to give the man credit that his brutal way of rule was successful in defeating the Nazis. That's the one thing a lot of people don't realize, is that if you ask the question, who really won World War II, it wasn't really America. America just finished it on the Pacific front, but it was really Russia and the Soviet Union that won World War II on the European theater. They're the ones that took down Hitler, which was really the start of this whole thing. And it was without question that out of all the Allied forces, it was the Soviet Union that lost the most amount of troops in order to secure victory. I mean, if you compare the Soviet Union's losses to like America's losses or any of its allies, they're not even close to the amount of losses that the Soviet Union took. So do I believe that he rewrote some events? Possibly, but I think there were enough witnesses to kind of make it clear that Stalin was not a very good person. And do I believe that he was as a terrible leader? I would say that he was a terrible leader in terms of morals, but in terms of effectiveness, you can't deny that a dictatorship, when done right, can be very, very effective in terms of governmental progress, which he did get a lot of things that he wanted done, but he was very, very brutal with them. So, yeah. Next question comes from JessCom03, and you want to know, do I mostly agree on Jen Sarai's views on the Jedi, and do I think the Sith are victims when the 100-year darkness began? Do I believe... I think it depends on which era of Jedi you're talking about. I think that his views on the Jedi are somewhat on point, because I think that they were a bit too narrow-minded, that they didn't see a lot of these problems coming. And I think that with the Sith, you have to understand that what happened to the Sith during that time after the Sith forces were just totally devastated, with all the infighting, which was always the main problem with the Sith, that it was the Supreme Chancellor who ordered the Jedi to finish them off that started this whole thing. The Jedi at that point did not need to go after them. The Sith forces had already been depleted at that point due to their own recklessness and their own infighting, but it was the Supreme Chancellor who wanted to wipe them out. That was never the Jedi's decision, but because of how they had vowed to basically work with the Republic and do its bidding, I think that's what really caused the main levels of hostility between the two forces. I really don't think that the Jedi and Sith are as vicious towards each other as possible, because I do believe that you kind of need one with you kind of need both sides of the Force. You can't just wipe out all the darkness and just have it be light. That's not balance. So I do think that in the sense of were the Sith the aggressors? Yes, but I don't think it was necessary for the Jedi to do what they did to them, which ultimately would lead to the Great Purge that happened near the end of the Clone Wars. That's really what kind of started. I think that if it had ended differently, you know, I think that the history following that, in the way that the Sith would have progressed, would have been very, very significantly different. And the last question of the episode comes from Gwen Just 04, and you want to know, do I believe that Michael Bay will keep his word after the 5th Transformers movie? Well, we're not sure. he said for the third time that this is going to be his last Transformers movie. I know that they're working on like a solo Bumblebee movie, so when the 6th Transformers movie comes out, which we all know is coming, I will believe that he won't be directing it as soon as it's out and someone else is directing it. Then I will believe it. But until then, I wouldn't trust any word that man says. That man loves the box office. And heck, as long as he keeps making these movies, he's going to make a shit ton of money. And with that, those are all the questions that you guys sent in for this week. I'd like to thank all of you guys for making this episode possible. If you guys have any more questions you would like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. But make sure you get them into me before next Wednesday before I start filming this episode. And make sure it's only one question per person. So, like always, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.